She was found shot dead in a parking lot, and it seemed personal. But to this very day, her case is unsolved. Hello, true crimers. This is the case of Joan Jeffries. Viewer discretion is advised. Real quick before we get started, as usual, hello, I'm Mike. If you're new to the channel, I tell true crime stories here. Obviously, I tell 3 of them every week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I also tell short form true crime stories over on TikTok pretty much at least once a day. So feel free to follow me over there as well. I'm Mike Making a True Crimer on TikTok. I have about 3 million-ish followers, close to 3 million. And the link will pop up here at some point in the beginning and also at the end. But it's also linked in the description in the link tree below. And of course, please subscribe here and give this video a like so it's pushed out to more people. Great. Also, I have a Discord server if you want to join it, but be over the age of 18 or else you're going to get kicked out of there. Okay, great. I sell merch. We ship all over the entirety of the globe. The entire flat globe. We ship all over it. Straight line. Flat Earth. 100%. Obviously. Where am I going with this? I have no idea. And lastly, if there's a case you want me to cover, what is this I'm doing? If there's a case you want me to cover, please email me at mikey@truecrimer.com. That is listed in the description of this video below. Just email me the name of the individual, where it happened, when it happened. I'll add it to the list. I got close to 5,300 or so names on there. I pick my cases at random, so it may be a while, but eventually I will get to it. I promise. Anyway, stop talking, Mike. Let's get into today's case. Dolores Joan Jeffries was born on May 8th, 1936, and she was born in Los Angeles, California. Unfortunately, I don't really have much information about Joan. There isn't really a whole lot published about her. Her story aired on the show Unsolved Mysteries on April 12th, 1996, and they didn't really reveal much about her personal life there either. I do know that she has at least 2 children. She has a daughter and a son. I'm not sure if she has more outside of that though, but her daughter and son actually were interviewed on the show. At the time of this case, Joan Jeffries is 58 years old and she's living in the Webster, Texas area. Joan, I guess, was at one point a clerk or a secretary at an aerospace firm. And at that firm was a gentleman named Samir Patel, who would go by Sam, so Sam Patel. Sam, at this aerospace firm, he was an engineer, a software engineer. But Sam had aspirations to start his own business, and he wanted to be very successful, and he wanted to hire only the best. The company he came up with was called Best Aviation. Apparently, the concept was it was specifically for gamblers, and it would go between Houston, Texas, and Las Vegas, Nevada, specifically to charter them, I guess, gamblers back and forth. That was his dream. So Sam had worked with Joan for some time at the aerospace firm, and he came to her and said, "Hey, listen, I'm starting this new company. I would love it if you would work in public relations." Basically putting her in charge of talking to the clients, any airlines, and also dealing directly with the casinos, I guess. From what I understand, it sounds like Joan was going to be considered more of a glorified secretary for Sam, and not like what he would later say as a vital part of the company. She was basically kind of just an employee. That's how she viewed it. That's how her family looked at it. And Joan, because he presented her listen, this is going to be, a pretty fruitful endeavor. We're going to make some money here and you're going to get paid really well. And she couldn't pass it up. She said, this is a great opportunity. More money to support the family. Of course, I'm going to do it. So by April of 1994, she's hired on as his glorified secretary, essentially, as they described it. But then he also named her to the board of directors of this company. So in the end, he did technically give her a somewhat powerful role in the business. Sam was married. He claimed it was an arranged marriage and it wasn't a happy marriage. It wasn't a marriage that him and his wife Penny, they weren't really like a legit married couple. So he was dating another woman on the side, and her name was Richie. And apparently Sam and Joan would have like meetings initially about Best Aviation at Richie's house. And apparently Sam, for the most part, lived with Richie because, again, Sam told her, I have an arranged marriage. We're not really in love, me and my wife. So this is okay. Okay. So at one of the earlier meetings in the company, Sam would tell Joan that there would be a lot of foreign investment in this company. Primarily, most of the investment would be foreign investment. But the entirety of the board of directors needed to have assurance and protection. So Sam would tell Joan, listen, I got to take out a life insurance policy on you and the other employees that I employ here. And so he did. He took out a $250,000 life insurance policy on Joan Jeffries. This is where he stated that she was a vital part of this organization and that she was like a top tier, top ranked member. But Joan and her kids didn't see it that way. Again, they basically said that she was just kind of just a glorified secretary, like I said. And they were very weary of like, why do you need a life insurance policy on someone who is working for you part-time and really is just there to do your paperwork and set up meetings and stuff? Joan's kids are like, this is just fishy. This seems weird. This is off. We don't really trust this. And Joan was kind of shaky about it too. So Joan was working with him between April and around October of 1994 or so. Joan hadn't been paid by Sam. As a matter of fact, she only ever got one actual check from him, and that check bounced. And so she's like, what is this? I'm working for you. You're not paying me. So Joan tells her kids, like, listen, I'm going to tell Sam that I'm backing out of this, and he's not paying me. I need money. I need finances, of course. And so they were told by Joan that she was planning to leave the company. So they have her, they have directly from her that was her plan. When Joan allegedly goes to Sam and says, hey, I'm leaving the company, according to Joan, he got very defensive, very protective, and also quite offended. And he was annoyed by this. He apparently just had a very big reaction, and it was a scary reaction. And Joan felt kind of threatened by him based on this reaction. Later down the road, however, once this all comes out, Sam says, I never reacted that way. We never really even discussed her leaving the company. She never came to me and said, I'm leaving the company. What? Crazy. She never did that. He would later on go to say that all she ever said was, hey, this isn't working out. I don't like this. And he says they then talked about, arranging a better, situation for her. But she never told him directly, I'm quitting, according to Sam. By October, coming now into November, Joan was owed a back payment of $4,000, $5,000. She still hadn't been paid anything. And this is where it gets kind of weird. About 2 weeks after Joan says she told Sam she was going to quit, and again, her kids would later say that Joan directly came to them and said, I'm telling him I'm quitting. She also told them, I told him I'm quitting, and that he had a big reaction. So they have that side, and then Sam tells his side. But at any rate, 2 weeks after that debacle, Sam, while Joan is talking on the phone to her daughter, Kelly, Sam comes to her door in the middle, not the middle of the night, but late at night, unannounced. He didn't give her any heads up or warning. And he says, I have a check for you. Here it is. Here's a check. And he claims it was a certified check. And she sees it. She sees the physical check in his hand. But then he says to her, I have it for you, okay? But I can't give it to you yet because I have to make a Xerox copy of it. And so he leaves the apartment with the check, or her house with the check, and says, I'll be back. I have to go Xerox it. Okay, weird. Again, Joan was on the phone with her daughter, so the daughter can confirm that this interaction, at least some of it, had actually happened. And both women were like, this is this is weird. This is bizarre. While they're talking on the phone, again, Sam comes back. He then says, I can't find a Xerox machine this late at night. Ugh. Then he says to her, listen, I don't have a car, so can I use your phone so I can call a ride? And she's like, well, I'm on the phone, so no. Then he comes up with this like story all of a sudden where he says, well, that's okay. I'm doing some work around at this little like computer place around the corner from here. So I'm going to have my wife Penny bring a rental car there. And so we're good. I got a car. Well, I got to figure it out. But Penny had to come pick him up first to bring him to where the rental car was going to be. Very weird and confusing. And so he says to Joan, all right, well, I guess I'll just wait outside for Penny to come pick me up. So, all right, bye. But then before he leaves, he goes, but listen, if Penny doesn't show up, can you drive me to where this rental car is supposed to be? And Joan's like, no, I'm on the phone with my daughter. It's late at night. No. Before he leaves the second time, he tries to give Joan 2 items. A taser and a door alarm. She's like, what? And Sam was like, well, you need protection. Duh. Like, this is such a manic episode. It appears like very just sporadic. This is super weird. What is this dude doing? Like, why is he at her house this late at night with all of this bizarre information? But anyway, he leaves. And then he comes back a 3rd time that same night. And he's like, listen, can you give me a ride, please? Penny's not here. Can you give me a ride? And she's like, no. She says, I'll see you at work tomorrow. Please go now. Thank you. Later down the road, when Sam is being questioned about things, he would completely deny that this entire evening ever took place. He's saying that Kelly, Joan's daughter, made all of it up. He never went to Joan's house that night, not even once, let alone 3 times. The thing is Joan was on the phone with Kelly for a good chunk of this, and she can hear the conversation. Like, she can say, yes, you were here. You were there. Not only that, my mom's not a liar. And so why would she be relaying this information that isn't actually happening in the moment? That's what? Shut up. You're a liar. 2 weeks goes by. Now it's November 29th, 1994. That night, Sam called Joan and said, hey, Joan, will you please come out to dinner with me and my wife, Penny? We want to discuss some stuff with the business, give you the check, the check I owe you, and, we'll just talk about some things. And Joan was like, okay. And then Joan told Kelly, her daughter, and Kelly was like, can you not do that? Can you just maybe do all of that at the office in front of a bunch of people, instead of going and meeting him somewhere again at night? Like, Joan was like, it's okay. It's going to be at a public restaurant. His wife's going to be there. I'll be fine. And so Joan goes. Now, according to witnesses, Joan arrives at the restaurant, which is an Applebee's, but Penny is not there with Sam. According to witnesses, like the waitresses and stuff like that, and the staff and other people there, Sam is heard saying, Penny had to work late, so she couldn't make it, so sorry about that. But then he gives her an envelope, and in the envelope is a check. It's a post-dated check, of course. It's post-dated for December 9th. So she still does not have an actual paycheck from this man. And he's saying that, well, it's post-dated for that because that's when, like, our financial backers are we're gonna be having a discussion with the board, and they're gonna, more money will be coming in, and so you'll be able to cash this check. According to witnesses, this interaction at the restaurant was fine. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. No one seemed in any kind of distress. They were both seen leaving the restaurant together at 10 p.m. Sometime shortly after this, I'm not 100% sure when, Joan was found deceased in her car. Her car had been essentially driven into a chain link fence, just sort of slowly. It looked as if she had been in the parking lot of the Applebee's, and that her car had probably just coasted into the fence. She had 4 total gunshots. She had 2 shots to her head, and the detectives believe that that's where she was first shot, by someone likely sitting next to her, just based on the trajectory of the bullets. And then the person got out of the car and from a different angle shot her 2 more times into her chest and directly into her heart. And her car was on this entire time, and so they believe that that's why her car coasted, because she still had her foot on the gas. And then they believe, because the keys weren't in the car when they got there, so the keys were then probably, the killer reached over, took the keys out and took them. Her purse was also missing and her wallet was missing. However, she had a gold necklace very clearly around her neck, a very expensive gold necklace that wasn't taken. Police look at this and go, well, at first it seemed like, okay, this is probably some sort of robbery, maybe a carjacking gone wrong, but why didn't they take this clearly obvious necklace around her neck that would have been worth a lot of money? And they also said to themselves, typically in robberies, you don't see 4 execution-style gunshots, because she was shot point blank in her head twice, and then 2 more times in her chest. That to them is a sign that someone was pissed off at Joan. This was an angry kill. This was done out of spite, out of animosity. Someone didn't like her. And that's why this person shot her so many times. Right away, her kids are like, it's Sam. Sam killed her. That's who you need to talk to. That's who you need to arrest. 100%, he did it. So they brought him in for questioning, and he said, yeah, we had dinner that night. I gave her the check, which, by the way, the check that he gave her was in the car with her. He says that he then, at 10 p.m., they left the restaurant together. He walked her to her car. They sat outside the car for about 10-15 minutes and talked. She got into her car and he went his separate way. He tells police, and then after that, he goes to his girlfriend Richie's house. Police ask him in this first interview, did you ever get into her car? Have you ever been in Joan's car? He says, no, absolutely not. But then he changes his mind. He says, oh, well, maybe I have been in her car. The reason why he likely changed his story is because he knew that there was going to be some kind of evidence in her car that he was in it. He didn't change his story about this until the second interview. So at first he says, nope, never been in her car. When they interview him again, he's like, you know what, fellas, I probably have been in her car, you know, in case there's fingerprints or hair samples or anything. They ask him, well, what did you do when you got back to your girlfriend's house that night? He said, I got onto my bike and I rode around the cul-de-sac, the neighborhood. And Richie would tell police that that Sam did come to her house that night, he did ride his bike. She said that when he got back from the bike ride, his shirt is like tied around his neck. And she's like, she tells Sam, what are you doing? It's November. Why is your shirt off and tied around your neck? He goes, oh, I just haven't exercised in a long time, so just really hot. So, you know, I just took it off. Now, from what I understand, Richie did not see Sam when he first got there and got the bike. So the first time she saw him that night was when he got back with the bike. Richie herself says, well, what I think is the reason why the shirt was off and tied around his neck was because he was probably trying to hide bloodstains. She thinks, after she found out what happened to Joan and the fact that her keys were missing, they believe that he had shot her, reached over, his sleeve probably grazed her, got blood on it, and so he then says, oh shit, I need to like get rid of the shirt. So police are like, well, do you still have the shirt? And he's like, yeah, I have it. It's in my closet still. But Richie's like, I haven't seen that shirt. I haven't seen it again since I saw it that night. And he claims, I'll give them the shirt when police get a warrant and they want it, it's theirs, right? And they ask him numerous times, give us the shirt. If you're just this willing to give us the shirt and you have it and you're not, just give it to us. And he's like, well, I will. Totally. Yeah, totally, I'll do that. He doesn't. He never does. Now, why police didn't get a warrant for the shirt, I'm not sure. Maybe they didn't have the probable cause to go through the legal channels to get that shirt. I don't know for sure. All I know is that police asked him for that shirt numerous times. He always told them, yeah, I've got it, okay, but he never gave it to them. Sam says Police have never asked him for the shirt, and that's the only reason why he never gave it. Even when he's interviewed on Unsolved Mysteries, he's like, well, police never asked for it, so I just never gave it to him. Why? Just give it to them. You know they want it. Give it to them. So that's the debacle of the shirt. That has still never gotten into police custody. The other evidence they found next to, or I would say about 20, 30 feet away from Joan's car, was a little pile of vomit. And by the way, most of the photos I'm showing, I'm sure you already caught on, or directly from Unsolved Mysteries, so they're recreations, but including this vomit picture. But there's vomit, clean, fresh vomit that clearly was just thrown up there relatively right before, this happened with Joan. They have it collected and analyzed. The contents of that vomit matches the exact meal that Sam said he had at the restaurant at Applebee's that night, confirmed by the wait staff. Yep, he had this for dinner, and that's what matched the vomit. And so they were hoping that they could get DNA from it. They weren't able to. They tried, but they could not get any DNA from it, and Sam denies that's his. It's not my throw up. Police then find out about that one night at Joan's house that Sam went there 3 times, and that's when he tells police, nope, never happened. Joan's daughter's lying. Didn't happen. Even though Joan said it happened, and Joan's daughter heard the voices on the phone. It happened. He says no. What Joan's daughter believes is that night, he was probably going to kill her that night. That was probably his first attempt. But he didn't because he knew that Kelly knew he was there that night. And so, damned as he might, he was persistent at first, but then he realized, well, shit, now police will know I was there, and so I can't do it this night. So he waited 2 more weeks to then do it, to actually kill her. Well, what about the life insurance money? Well, sure as shit, Sam tries to collect it. But Sam says, I wasn't trying to collect that money for myself. We were going to take it and we were going to donate it to a charity that Joan would have liked. We would have donated it to her family. That's what we were going to do with it. But he says that only after the fact that the insurance company basically is withholding that money because of this ongoing murder investigation, and that Sam is directly involved in this murder investigation. So he never actually got the money. So that's when he says, well, the plan was, we talked to the board, the plan was to give it to charity. So that's all that was going to happen with it. That's why I tried to collect it. Okay. Why did you take out a $250,000 life insurance policy on a secretary? Huh? That's a bit weird. A murder weapon has never been found. There has not been any concrete physical evidence to connect Samir Patel directly to the murder of Joan Jeffries. And that's where it stands, unfortunately. They have a lot of circumstantial evidence that would say Sam did this. And I think investigators they know Sam probably did this. The family is confident Sam did this. And they all are confident for the reasons why, what the motive was. It all seems very clear and very evident. But unfortunately, you need physical evidence. What evidence they found in that car to indicate that maybe Sam was in it, I don't know. But it wasn't enough to suggest he pulled the trigger on a gun and shot her 4 times. There is also the possibility he hired someone to do it. He may have been in her car, and maybe someone accosted them that he hired to kill her, and maybe he was just sort of there to play the part of like, oh, I'm innocent, oh, what is this? That's a robbery. But he's never said anything happened. He would tell police, oh yeah, I've been in her car before, but that was really just to place him in the car for his own selfish reasons, knowing they would probably find some trace of him in her car. But the gun's never been found, the ammunition's never been linked to him or anyone. They never found any financial transactions where he may have paid someone a large amount of money to, kill her. And even though it sounds like we all know who probably did this, they have not arrested him. The family did file a wrongful death lawsuit against him. However, I don't know the outcome of that. I just know they did it. And even if, let's say, they won that wrongful death lawsuit, that doesn't always translate to a murder trial. Usually they're completely separate things. But as of right now, it is, November of 2023. Actually, we're almost up on the It's almost 30 years, kind of close to 30 years ago. Still an unsolved mystery. If you have any information about the murder of Joan Jeffries, please contact the Webster, Texas Police Department with anything you have, anything at all. You can report your tips anonymously, and the smallest detail could be everything they need to finally arrest the person responsible. Can I sit here and say 100% Sam did it? Nope, sure can't. Sure sounds like he did, but just because it sounds like he did does not mean that he did. I don't know what other scenario would have taken place that this would have happened, but you never know. It could have been a completely random attack. Could have been. Probably not. Could have been. Joan's daughter, Kelly, I believe, has actually since passed away, unfortunately, and so she never got to experience any level of justice for her mom, and that's really freaking tragic. But I hope that Joan's remaining family and friends one day will be able to get the justice for Joan that she rightfully deserves. But that is it for this case. True Crime Rooney Dooney Dingleberry Dongs. I hope you found it interesting as usual. Please subscribe to this channel, give this video a like, and all that stuff. And yeah. Hey, wanna watch me eat some Airhead Extremes? To say goodbye. These aren't very extreme. These are not. Totally normal. Oh my god, you're such a puss, Mike. I can't chew it. It's too extreme. It's too extreme. That was a bad batch. That's a bad batch of extremes. Okay. Okay, I'm fine. He wasn't fine. I'm not crying, you're crying. It's fine. Oh, I'm a hot mess. Goodbye. Bye.